Alright mates, how's it going? In today's video, chapter 21 of Rise of the Horde by Gul'dan. As I mentioned at the end of the last video, this one sets up the next series quite nicely. So let's go! Gul'dan was so terrified and desperate at this point that any advice, from anyone, seemed like a great idea. So, he went ahead and turned to Nazul, who was the only other person in the room.
What do I do? It's not as if you're blameless in this.
Of course not.
I made choices for myself, but I never threw away the future of my people for it. Where is the power you were promised now, Gul'dan? The power you bartered our people for?
Gul'dan turned away, trembling. There was no power. Nazul was right, the jerk. Rather than rewarding his loyal servant with glories and godhood, Kil'jaeden had just buggered off, leaving behind nothing but warlocks, demons, insane orcs, and a ravaged land. No, this can't be it, Gul'dan thought. There was still the Shadow Council. There was still Black Hand, the ideal puppet. And although the Horde was now infused with demon blood, and were kinda mental, they were not completely beyond control. At least not yet.
The land is dead.
Orgrim stood beside Juritan, knowing his old friend was absolutely right. There was no grass anymore, no trees. Even the rivers had dried up. The only water that remained in the land was filthy, full of animal corpses and crap. To drink it was to risk illness, but to not drink it was to risk death.
More than the land is dead. How is the Frostwolf grain supply? Several barrels were stolen in the attacks. Which clan? Shattered Hand.
Orgrim nodded. The orcs were indeed turning on each other, but the Frostwolf clan were bearing the brunt of the attacks. Juritan had basically put a big target on their heads when he'd refused to drink Gul'dan's green steroid goo.
I will bring some the next time I see you. I will not take charity. Don't be proud, friend. If I were in your position, you'd beat me damn near senseless and shove food down my throat.
Juritan laughed for but a moment before remembering everything was shit now.
Fine. For the sake of the children, I will accept it.
The Frostwolf chieftain then returned his gaze to the surrounding wasteland, and the citadel on the horizon. The ugly fortress had gained a much more fitting, darker name within recent years. Hellfire Citadel, with the entire area being renamed Hellfire Peninsula, so it didn't really make much sense calling it a jungle anymore.
The orcs aren't going to last much longer, Orgrim. We're fighting each other, stealing food from the mouths of children out of desperation. Our casters can destroy and torment, but they cannot heal. Has anyone tried to work with the elements? Yeah, it didn't work. They were just met with stony silence. And demons guard our Shagun. We can find no hope there. Then we are indeed finished.
Orgrim then glanced down at his Doomhammer and wondered if this was what the prophecy had foretold. He was the last of his line after all, and he did kind of feel like he'd brought doom down upon his people. Back to Gul'dan. The asshole was in his room at the Black Temple, just about drifting off to sleep. And as he did, he dreamed, for the first time in a long time. But it didn't take long before Gul'dan realised that this was no dream. 'Twas a vision. Stood before him was a vaguely orc-shaped being clad in a long cloak, but a very slender being, even more so than a female orc. Yet Gul'dan immediately sensed that it was male, and that despite its small stature, he was extremely powerful.
You are feeling adrift and alone.
Gul'dan simply nodded. That's exactly how he was feeling.
Kil'jaeden promised you power, strength, godhood, things that your world has never even seen. He abandoned me, caused us to ruin our world and left us to die with it. If you come from him, then...
Nay, I come from one even greater. I come from his master.
His master?
Gul'dan then fell on his ass as his mind was assaulted with images. Images of Kil'jaeden and Archimonde and Velen, back on their homeworld. He saw their transformation, and all the while he sensed a great presence behind it all. Sargeras. Yes, the one who rules over all, the one we serve. You will soon understand, Gul'dan, that destruction and oblivion are beautiful and pure. That is the direction in which all things must go. You can resist it and be destroyed, or aid it and be rewarded. Gul'dan was a little bit suspicious of these honeyed words after everything that had happened, but it was still tempting.
What is being asked of me?
Your people are dying. There is nothing in this world for them to destroy. There is nothing left for them to survive on. So they must go elsewhere. Somewhere with ample food and drink, and worthy prey to slaughter. Give them the blood they crave, Gul'dan.
That sounds like a reward.
not a task to which I am set. It is both. But it is not the only reward my master offers. You have tasted power. You are the greatest warlock that exists among your people. But imagine if you were a god.
Ooh. Gul'dan liked the sound of that.
We have a mutual foe. I would see them dead. You would see your people sated with slaughter and killing. This is a partnership that would benefit us both.
Indeed. But I do not for 1 second believe that this is all you ask of me.
Sargeras will give you all this and more. But he lies, imprisoned. His body is trapped in an ancient tomb on a world that's not your own. Bring your orcs into this verdant, unspoiled world. Defeat the denizens of this place, and join me in liberating our master.
The view around Gul'dan then shifted, and he now found himself standing in a beautiful meadow, with beasts he'd never seen before grazing, and little pink beings as slender as the stranger, frolicking and being all like, tra-la-la-la-la-la. It was perfect. And next, Gul'dan found himself underwater, swimming down but somehow able to breathe. Lurking in the darkness below, he could just about make out some very old, foreboding ruins, and they were possibly the spookiest thing he'd ever seen.
Release him from this prison.
Tell me what to do.
Bah! Gul'dan awoke suddenly. This wasn't where he'd fallen asleep. He then noticed a parchment lay beside him, covered in instructions and written in his own handwriting. And as he scanned it quickly, he saw some words. Portal, Azeroth, humans, and Medivh. And for the first time in years, Gul'dan smiled. And we're leaving it there! Bloody hell, we're almost finished. We are precisely one dark portal and one someone gives Thrall some shocking news away from the end. I always start to feel a bit proud and smug at this point of the series, so if you want to leave a comment calling me a prick, go ahead. Otherwise I might start dressing like a pimp and thinking my shit smells like roses or something. Link in the description if you're interested in buying the book, as well as for my Discord and my Patreon too. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. And all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!